He built an empire, starting with just $1. And the way he did it is something you could do too. This is not theory. This is real. Let me tell you how it happened. I remember perfectly the cold of that morning. I didn't have a new coat, just an old jacket I had inherited from my brother. In my pocket, I carried exactly one wrinkled $1 bill. It was all I had, and I don't just mean money. It was everything. I had no job, no contacts, no plan, but I was hungry, and not just for food, hungry to change my life. That morning, I walked through the streets downtown. I looked at shop windows as if they were worlds I couldn't enter. On a corner, a street vendor was selling bottles of water. People passed by, bought, and kept walking. And then I had an idea so simple, it almost embarrassed me. If he can sell something, so can I. I went into a discount store and bought 2 small bottles of water with my only dollar. I took them to the nearby park and waited. The first customer was a man jogging. He paid me twice what I had spent. It wasn't much, but in that moment, I felt I had lit a spark. If I could double $1, I could double 2. And that's how it all began. That afternoon, I repeated the process. I bought again. I sold again. I ended the day with $3. It might sound ridiculous, but to me it was like finding gold. Not just because of the money, because of the feeling that I could create something from nothing. The next days were a mix of excitement and exhaustion. I woke up early, walked a lot, talked to strangers. Some ignored me, others smiled. I discovered I wasn't just selling water, I was selling a small solution to an immediate problem, thirst, and that opened my eyes. Over time, I went from selling water to selling coffee on cold mornings. I made the coffee in a borrowed coffee maker. I woke up at 5 to have it ready by 6. In winter, people loved holding the warmth in their hands. In summer, I went back to water and cold juices. It wasn't a big business, but it kept me moving. And most importantly, I was learning. I was learning to look at people, to listen to what they said without words, to understand that everyone, absolutely everyone, needs something, and if you can provide it, there's a possible exchange. It wasn't about selling, it was about serving. With every small income, I saved a part. I promised myself I wouldn't spend more than necessary. That small habit changed my life more than anything else, because when you start with nothing, every coin counts. Every coin is a seed. One day, while selling coffee, a man watched me for several minutes before approaching. He told me he worked in a warehouse and they were looking for someone to help load trucks. I accepted without hesitation. It wasn't my dream job, but it was stable and paid better than what I made on the street, and above all, it allowed me to keep saving money in the warehouse. I learned something new, the importance of relationships. One coworker taught me how to organize inventory. Another showed me how to talk to suppliers. I began to notice opportunities where I had only seen routine before. Over time, I understood that every place you work, even if you don't love it, can teach you something valuable. I saved my money for months. I didn't spend it on clothes or nights out. While others laughed, bet I still wore the same old jacket, I smiled inside. They saw a worn-out coat. I saw the capital for my future. When I finally had $100 saved, I felt like I was holding a small key in my hands. I could open a door. I didn't know which one, but I was determined to find it. One Saturday morning, while walking through the market, I saw a stall selling used tools. I talked to the owner, negotiated, and ended up buying a small drill, some drill bits, and a box of nails and screws. I had no idea what I would do with them, but I remembered something my grandfather used to say: if you have tools, you have work. That same week, I posted a handwritten sign on the wall of the grocery store. I fix things at home. Fair prices. Call this number. The first job was fixing a door that wouldn't close properly. The second, hanging some shelves. The third, repairing a wobbly table. Each satisfied customer recommended me to another, and little by little, the chain began to grow. Working with my hands gave me back a feeling I had forgotten. Pride. The pride of finishing something and seeing it work. The pride of earning your living through honest effort. But it also gave me something else, experience for something bigger that was about to come. And that is where the part of the story I never imagined begins. The part where I stopped thinking like a man who survives, and started thinking like a man who builds. Thinking like a man who builds felt different. It wasn't about asking, what can I earn today, anymore. It was about asking, what can I create that will keep earning tomorrow? I kept fixing things for people, but now I began to keep track of everything who called me, what they needed, what tools I used, how long each job took. It might sound boring, but this small habit made me see patterns. People weren't just calling me for repairs, they were calling me for trust. One night, I sat at my small kitchen table with my notebook and made a list of all the services I could offer. Not just what I knew, but what I could learn. Painting, small plumbing repairs, installing shelves, assembling furniture. None of it required a degree, only patience, honesty, and the willingness to show up when I said I would. I printed 10 flyers on my neighbor's old printer and walked door to door. Out of those 10 flyers, 2 people called me. Those 2 led to 4. Those 4 led to 8. The chain reaction had started again. Within months, I wasn't working alone anymore. I hired a young man from the warehouse to help me with heavier jobs. I didn't pay him much at first, but I promised him something more important: steady work and a fair split. We worked side by side, and little by little, we became a team. Then came the moment that changed everything. A small local cafe owner asked me to renovate her place. It wasn't a big project, but it was the first time someone trusted me with more than just a repair. I worked day and night, sanding tables, painting walls, fixing chairs. When the cafe reopened, she told every customer, "This is the man who fixed this place." That phrase was worth more than any payment, because the next week, 3 more businesses called me. I realized something. If I could become the person people recommend, work would never stop. So, I started to brand myself, not with fancy logos or expensive marketing, just a name people could remember and a promise they could believe. I bought a small set of matching shirts for my helper and me, each with a simple print: "We fix it right." It cost less than a nice dinner, but it made us look like we belonged to something bigger, and people noticed. With more jobs coming in, I faced a new challenge: time. I couldn't do everything myself anymore. So I made a decision that scared me. I hired 2 more people. At first, it felt risky. What if I couldn't pay them? What if there weren't enough jobs? But I remembered something. If I wanted to build, I had to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. The team grew, and with it, our reputation. We weren't just repairing homes now. We were remodeling kitchens, building patios, installing new floors. Every time a customer was happy, I asked for one thing: "Please, tell your friends about us." Most did. By the end of the 2nd year, I had enough saved to rent a small workshop. It was nothing fancy: concrete floor, 1 window, a leaky roof, but it was ours. And it was the first physical proof that this wasn't just a survival hustle anymore, it was a business. From that workshop, I began to think bigger. If we could fix things, we could also make things. So we started building custom furniture. Simple at first: coffee tables, bookshelves. But people loved them, especially because I offered one thing big stores couldn't: personalization. I also started teaching myself about pricing, negotiation, and how to talk to clients in a way that made them feel safe to invest. I wasn't lying or overselling. I was simply telling the truth in a way that showed I believed in our work. Then, an opportunity came that terrified me. A small hotel in town wanted to renovate 10 rooms. The owner said it was between us and a larger company. I didn't have the equipment or manpower they had, but I had something else. I cared more. I promised him we'd finish faster, with more attention to detail, and for a fair price. He took the risk. We worked 16-hour days, my team and I, sleeping only a few hours. When we finished, the hotel looked brand new. That job didn't just pay well, it put us on the map. From there, bigger contracts started to arrive: shops, offices, even small factories. I reinvested every extra dollar into better tools, a bigger space, and training my team. Some people told me I was lucky, but luck didn't explain the mornings I woke up at 4 a.m., the nights I came home covered in dust, the risks I took when I could have played it safe. 5 years after that first bottle of water, I stood in front of my new warehouse. It was 10 times the size of our first workshop. Inside, my team, now 20 people, was working on multiple projects at once. We had trucks, equipment, and a name people trusted. We weren't just fixing things anymore. We were building spaces where other people could build their dreams. Looking back, I realized the empire didn't start when I had a lot of money. It started the day I believed I could do more with the little I had. It started with $1. and the decision to use it. So if you're listening to this, maybe you're where I was. Maybe you have just $1, or maybe nothing at all. But you have something more important: time, energy, a willingness to try. That's enough to start. You don't have to see the whole empire yet. You just have to take the first step, because one day you might look back and realize that what you built is bigger than anything you ever dreamed.